Hello, friend. Welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, and this is Connor.
Hey everyone.
We're going to talk about Mr. Robot, Season 2, it's Episode 7. It's called EPS 2.5 underscore handshake.sme. SME, Connor? Any thoughts? No.
Nope, but
So,
once again, gonna guess encryption.
yeah, someone told us what the last week, well, one was last week, and I've forgotten that. I don't have it in front of me. But we like to find out, so by all means, keep telling us. Full spoilers for the episode as follows. So they finally revealed things to us. We've been talking about it all season, and they finally showed their hand. How did
The
you
illusion
feel?
is finally shattered.
Yeah, how did you feel about how they showed us that? I will say actually before we get to the actual reveal, is that over the course of the episode, I had shifted Phil into prison rather than mental hospital for a
Yeah.
couple of reasons, which you can probably guess. Mainly the attempted rape and shanking sort of stuff was.
It was also the way they referred to Ray. It
Hmm.
was more guard rather than doctor.
It was also the way Leon, when he was talking about the halves and how people felt about Elliot, it
Hmm.
made sense. It was like a group of people. Like, why would they be saying that? Like, if it was just the neighborhood, half of who? Like,
Yeah, it's like it was another case of before they told us, they were very explicit. So even if people hadn't been like theorizing it for the last six episodes, they made it very clear in this one before the reveal, I think.
yeah, there was more blatant issues. That said, though, and when he was speaking to his therapist, and he mentioned living with his mother, I'm like, oh, he just said that. She's going to pick
Yeah.
up in that, and then she sort of went quiet, and I was like, oh wait, I'm getting this. She's about to bring this
This is
up.
where it is, yeah.
And then she's like, I need to ask you a question. I'm like, oh, ho, 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 ho. And then she said, where do you think you are right now? I'm
And
like,
it's such that perfect reminiscence of last season of Darlene going, "Who do you think I am?"
yeah.
It just mirrors it so perfectly.
Except this season, the difference is that it's been intentional. Elliot's
He's
deliberately,
aware,
yeah,
yeah,
he's been keeping this from us because even once it gets revealed and we see the prison bars, and I like that they showed every location and showed it morphing into
yeah.
what it actually was, so that you got that the streets were just the hallways and the prison.
Yeah.
You
My
got that.
favorite was definitely the diner canteen.
Go on.
Just I don't know, I really like the way it went up to the lights and then comes back down and it morphed. I thought it was just a much nicer transition than the others.
Yeah. Actually, no. The one I thought was the most impressive was the support group. The way it just kind of
That was
panned around
really
his
good as
head.
well.
Because I didn't even notice they started wearing orange until it stopped. I was like, oh wait, they're in orange now.
Yeah, that was really good.
That was a really sleek one. But no, I think. I mean, the episode title's Handshake, and he talks about handshakes at the start, and the episode's kind of about him sort of agreeing to coexist with Mr. Robot. Because we spoke last week about how, like, him taking the beating, and that was a really cool thing as well, by the way, during when he was getting beat up, and it was quickly
Just the
cutting.
flashes,
Yeah,
yeah,
and you could
that was
see
really
Mr.
great.
Robot instead of him.
Yeah.
That was a really nice touch, just to put that in kind of like a, I guess, perspective. Like,
Yeah, it's just showing you that this relationship's ongoing. It wasn't a one-time
yeah.
thing.
So all that stuff's really good. It's him getting back into the groove and finally getting back out into the world. Though there's an argument that could be made that you might feel this is too late in the season. Like if you said episode seven's too far into it, done this, you should have done this around 2 or 3 episodes ago. Where would you stand on that?
If it was still 10 episodes a season, maybe. But with the extra episodes,
Hmm.
nah, this is fine.
Okay.
You,
Okay.
you get that extra leeway to do this, I think, by having the extra episodes. So yeah, I'm alright with it.
Yeah. Okay. I have no real complaints either. It's interesting how Elliot was kind of missing for almost all of the last episode. We focused on Angela and we focused on the. No, he wasn't missing. We had the sitcom bit, but in terms of present day normal, you know,
Reality.
yeah, like it kind of skipped almost all of last episode. And it was kind of weird how this week it picked up almost it back to where it was previously. Right, you're back in the computer chair. How are you dealing with this?
Yeah.
Um, Now, which character? We'll deal with Ray first, actually. So the revelation that he didn't actually even know it was on the site himself, really. Like he suspected there was bad stuff going on, but he didn't look until Elliot looked. So he actually kind of let him, like, get him caught. He
Yeah, I
let.
think it was a really smart move. This.
Yeah, go on then. Why do you think it was a smart move?
I think it humanized him a bit more because obviously he's always come across as like a friendly-ish guy, but
Hmm.
with like, and he's shown a bit of a menacing side, but he always has the other guy there to do the actual bad shit. Whereas this proves that like he had a moral code and he just his morals went as far as allowing him to ignore it. But once he was aware, that was it.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily suggesting this to be the case, and I'm sure if I go back and watch the last few episodes, I'll see evidence to prove that it's not. But I do think there's a deliberate, like, mirroring with Ray and his muscle. I don't know his name, but muscle
Mm.
guy, as if that's his Mr. Robot. Now, I'm not suggesting he actually is in his head, and he does switch personality. But just there was a weird way how he got him to leave the room before he sort of became friendly Ray again, and just the way he comes in and deals with these things, the way Mr. Robot would deal with things.
I think what it is, it's the same thing that Mr. Robot does in general. It's the way people react and act around different sets of people. So it's like, if you're with like a group of friends, you'll act one way, but then around, say, your parents, people tend to act differently. I think it's that, but taken to the extremes, and he's not willing to do nice things with the other guy because obviously it would damage his reputation with him. But he can't do too bad things either because that's why he's there.
You can see the mirroring though, the way
Yeah,
the way he comes in, the way he'll and I'm not suggesting he actually is make believe, but it did occur to me in this episode especially.
yeah,
Especially since we don't see the muscle again once
yeah,
once he leaves and the FBI come by. Um,
yeah.
that was the
There's
other blatant sign for me actually that we were about to get this revealed was when Elliot comes out of the house and he like the FBI guy just stops and he's like, just wait here just now. As if
yeah, like
as if he
nothing.
knows he's meant to be there, but he's not
Yeah,
there to like he's not thinking he's like a suspect. He's like, oh, you're meant to be here. Just wait here, just now.
yeah. It was again, like I said, that was very blatant this episode before the reveal.
Yeah.
I think there was one really nice touch in that scene for me. Actually, it was not the first instance of this in this episode, but there was a lot of religious iconography in this.
Oh yeah, there was tons of it. Yeah.
But and we'll get to the main bulk of it, I'm sure. But in this particular scene, I thought was really nice and subtle because it's after Ray's made his decision, he knows what's happening, and it focuses on him still, and he's to the left, but he's looking to the side, and there's a crucifix, but it's out of focus. So it's like it's. I thought it was a really clever way of like saying like that had helped him. Maybe he is a man of faith, and that's part of why he's done his decision, but not the entire reason. That's why it was obscured still.
Maybe. I actually just thought that scene was really beautifully shot. The way it kept like going back down to the chess pieces, the way it had the blinding light from the window, sort of
Yeah.
silhouetting them almost.
And then you had the very classic king falling as he comes down.
So no, it was a really poetically done scene, but in terms of visuals, music, everything just kind of
Yeah, all comes together, don't it?
all came together. So now I think the bigger revelation in this episode, I think, because obviously we'd all been predicting the prison sort of scenario and we'd been guessing all this. Leon, the sneaky bugger, is a part of the Dark Army.
Yeah,
Or if he's not a direct part of the Dark Army, he's at least been employed by the Dark Army to look out for Elliot in the prison.
yeah. It was interesting because just before he said anything, before he actually shows up there, the guys attacking him reference him, and it's like, right, well, that puts to bed all the people who are saying that it's in his head, right? That's that theory
Yeah.
completely squashed there, and then it's like, well, never mind that, like more subtle reference because 20 seconds later,
Yeah, 20 seconds later, when you see White Rose, tell him I did you a solid.
yeah,
So that was really interesting. That was like the big thing that came out of nowhere. I was like, oh shit, okay, right, that's interesting. Uh, Also, you'll get a letter on Tuesday, which obviously is part of his release. So
yeah.
the Dark Army can pull some strings, certainly.
I do want to say that scene where Leon shows up and shanks all the dudes with a knife is my one potential problem on a technical level.
On a technical level, okay.
the sound for the knife, like it sounded like a much bigger blade. It sounded like a sword almost, rather than a short little. It was only like a few inches long.
I don't think that's a fair complaint, and I'll tell you why I don't think it's a fair
Well,
complaint.
this is what I was going to say potentially, and I was going to say the only way I can think out of it is this is all from Elliot's perspective
Yeah,
still, and
everything,
he's heightening it.
yeah, everything's a lie.
Yeah,
Like his entire surroundings in this scene is still a lie. So, yeah, I don't
yeah.
think that's a fair complaint because I don't think it's. I don't think they picked that sound effect to be accurate. I think they.
So you think it was a much bigger blade, like, potentially, or that it was just him heightening it?
Uh, I no, I think
Because
it was
we're not
just.
seeing the reality.
Yeah, I think it was just Elliot heightening it, or maybe maybe he's got a machete for all I know. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um, but like, no, I think that again. I think that was the other standout scene was the potential raping and the mass shanking of
yeah,
all these prisoners. That was really
yeah,
good stuff. So he's all about Elliot and his therapist, and they revealed, of course, that they were in fact at a table in a visiting area in a prison.
yeah.
I wonder actually, um, if Darlene was referencing the prison guard when she said she devil before.
Hmm.
Because it'd be weird that it would always be that one female guard who would be with him. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm
Maybe,
just.
maybe. It seems routine that it's her because she
Hmm.
was the one who put him in at night and said, "I'll see you in the morning."
Yeah.
Like we saw in the first episode, it was the exact same dialogue, so it implies it was her. Maybe, maybe she's there 5 days a week, and when Darlene usually goes, she's the one that's there. And
It
that
was
one day,
it was the weekend. Yeah, and she wasn't.
yeah.
Yeah, no, you may be right. Um. All right. Tyrell is totally alive. Mr. Robot is lying about that.
Oh, absolutely.
There is not a chance in hell Tyrell's just simply dead.
No, it's too easy.
I mean, if he was dead, it would open up another mystery about who's sending Joanna all the gifts and things.
Yeah, and who was on the? I mean, was the phone call real still? This is
I'm inclined to say it was, but it's really more of a hunch than it is anything else.
That's what I mean. I'm still inclined to think it was real. It looked like it was still a prison phone, just distorted through the lens of Elliot's reality. But there's no reason to think the actual call didn't happen.
Yeah, yeah. I think the call, because I mean, you would get phone calls once in a while, like
Yeah,
you know. So no, I think the call did happen. Uh, you could argue that he was on the phone but didn't hear anything and it was all in his head. But I think
you could, but my problem is at that point we were shown the very distinct Elliot was in control and Mr. Robot was there. Like this season, it's been very clear who's in control at what time, I think.
I never said I thought that. I was just saying you could argue
No,
that.
no, no, but if he could just, if he, why would he just imagine it without Mr. Robot planting that in there?
I know I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, I'm speculating.
Okay. um, so that was a big point at the start of the episode. We actually it started with a flashback to just a small flashback with Joanna and Tyrell before, just as he was getting his job at Evil Core.
Yeah,
So wasn't too much there. We get a little bit of Joanna with her boyfriend, and the only thing that really comes out of that is that she is going to get a divorce from her missing husband, which I guess after a certain amount of time you're allowed to um,
yeah,
get a one-sided divorce because they're missing and presumed dead or whatever.
yeah. It also had the incredibly stylistic opening shot. You know, where she gets the paint thrown on her and she screams.
And she screams, but it's silent. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh man, that was such a good shot.
that's good. Also, there's something really weird about an image of a mother with her baby, but she's covered in what looks like blood. I know it's not blood, but it's that image. It's that.
That's the point, isn't
Yeah.
it?
So no, I was interesting stuff. I don't have much to really say about it. Let's shift over to Angela, who of course was committing a bit of a heist. Uh, well, kind of a heist. Wasn't really stealing anything, uh, but she obviously ended with Dom coming to speak to her last week because Dom was suspicious that she'd seen her on the floor, and she came to talk to her. And this was a really you know, butt was clenched throughout the entire thing
Jesus Christ, yeah.
type of scene because Dom was asking these questions and you're like, And Angela's been kind of smart. She's like, oh, I was making plans with Agent, and she knows his name, and she says it, and
then she goes, "How'd you know each other?" She's like, "Shit."
then she quickly changes the conversation. And it shows you in the next scene we see with Dom, and they realise that all the security footage has been like erased or corrupted, and she's like, right, search Angela Moss's computer. She's probably wiped it, but search it anyway. Like she's immediately, it's like it's her.
It's like she knows.
She knows. She can't prove anything, but she knows.
I think she's shaping up to be a very solid adversary for F Society.
Yes. Meanwhile, F Society dropped the balls in the was it the Senate
Senate,
meeting?
yeah.
Amusing, all the same. But back to Angela, because Angela did a bit of a weird turn in this episode. She she negotiated the lawsuits with everyone who was like suing for everything that happened to her mother and Elliot's father back in like the 90s, and she went to see her father to tell him about it, and he was dead set against it, but it didn't matter because she'd already got like 2/3 of the people who were suing. That there was was a party lawsuit, and she then negotiates. She's done a good thing for Evil Corp, so she then negotiates with Philip to get transferred over to the risk like management department, all seemingly so that she can start looking through all of the records about everything that happened back in the 90s. And it's so transparent. And speaking of butt clenching scenes, see when she like gets into that meeting with the directors,
she opens her fucking mouth like
even
stupid cunt.
even before she opens her mouth, even before she opens her mouth, I knew she was going to open her mouth, and it made the whole thing uncomfortable to watch because I knew she was going to say something. And it was just like that scene at the Chinese consulate like a few episodes ago when Dom spoke, but even worse because everyone at the table was like, "You're not a director." But it just like dead silence.
It's painful to watch.
Yeah, and you can see it coming. And again, it's another example of Angela this season trying to be smart and kind of falling flat on her face.
She says to Darlene, "You always thought you guys were smarter than me," and this is why.
Actually, it's funny you bring that scene up because I thought it was really interesting that she brings up that she used to watch that movie with Elliot and Darlene as a kid, and that it didn't click when she started seeing the mask.
Yeah.
Until later, and I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. I mean, obviously we never knew she'd seen that, so we never questioned it. But like this idea that in her memory she actually had the information to place Elliot and Darlene as part of this.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think ultimately Angela will in some way like go back to the F Society for help because she's not really going to get anywhere.
Do you know, there was something with the shooting, the camera work. This show uses a lot of headroom.
A lot of headroom.
It always has. But that scene where she's talking with Philip, where he's saying about his birthday. My God, there's never been a case of there being any more headroom than that.
Oh yeah, that was like really low down the frame.
It feels like it's trying to show that she's pushing into something bigger, but she's literally just the tip.
Yeah, because they have that big blue painting behind them.
Yeah, it's like literally tip of the iceberg.
And she's just like poking her head into it, and she thinks she's got things sus, but she's a small fish in an ocean right now.
Yeah, such a clever piece of camera work.
So Angela fuck up counter, but at least 2 this season, probably more, but 2 that I remember specifically.
2 major ones.
Yeah. That said, though, this was far more interesting and compelling than the previous fuck up, which is when we were saying that Angela was kind of the weakest part of the show.
Yeah.
Whereas now, at least, what she's doing is a lot more, compelling. I said it, compelling. I can't think of another
word.
But
no,
compelling.
It is. It's just much more interesting to watch and follow.
Yeah. So have I missed anything? We have F Society, all the Elliot stuff.
A couple of things. On the Elliot stuff.
Okay.
One, now that we know this is a prison, not a mental institution, what was he imprisoned for? I think it could be a decent, important question because obviously we don't know.
I ponder that he still might have turned himself in for something. I'm just not entirely sure what. Because it wouldn't have been the hack, because there's no way he'd be getting out
No,
if it was the 9-5 hack.
but what? That's the thing.
It could. I mean, to be honest, all the hacking he does in general is illegal. He could have turned himself in
He
for
could have
any of
done
that.
some of the smaller one. You're right. He could have.
It could be a part he played in something else last season. You know.
No, I still feel like it was voluntary because he just talks about the regimen was supposed to help, and like when he's burning it all, and it's like this was supposed to be a cure. It
Yeah, yeah.
still was his choice.
I think it was. Yeah, whatever it is, I think he turned himself in.
Hmm.
What he actually turned himself in for, I can't.
Maybe it doesn't matter. Like maybe it doesn't. We'll never know. But it just strikes me as interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, we didn't really talk about the religious scene where he's in the group
Yeah.
meeting, and the the group leader thinks or is talking about Jesus and thinks he's kind of talking about Jesus, like almost the entire time. That's what she's talking about.
Yeah.
But he's talking about Mr. Robot, and that's why I think it's funny when he looks up at the cross, but he's standing in front of it and he turns around.
And then see that's where the scene gets really interesting for me is after that. Then it does the switch. When Mr. Robot starts talking back, it's like which one of them is the Jesus and which one of them is the disciple? Because when Elliot's talking, he's very clear that he thinks he's the disciple. He's looking up to Mr. Robot when he looks at Jesus, right?
Oh yeah, and then he talks to him about being a leader. Yeah.
But yeah, and then it does this reversal. And it's like, well, which is actually the reality in this metaphor?
Well, I think Elliot's the person. Like, you know,
Elliot's the person, sure.
so I think the whole idea is he is the leader, and he should be, but he's unsure of himself. He's got all these issues. Mr. Robot's a coping mechanism. I don't think for a second Mr. Robot actually is the leader. I think Elliot thinks he is, or thinks he was,
Yeah.
but I think Elliot should be the leader, and that's why Mr. Robot's even telling him, "You are the leader. You need to lead."
Yeah, that's probably what it is. But I just find it really interesting the way it frames Mr. Robot as the Christ figure for probably a good like half of that scene, with that entire conversation that Elliot's having with the counselor.
Because Mr. Robot, in essence, is a coping mechanism for Elliot to actually utilize his potential, because he's not consciously willing to do certain things.
Yeah,
Well, not they're right or wrongs, completely, up for debate. But that's what Mr. Robot really is. So, no, I think Elliot's supposed to be the leader. At least Mr. Robot believes Elliot's the leader, and Elliot amusingly doesn't believe it himself, even though he technically is Mr. Robot as well.
that's what's interesting. Yeah, because he believes Mr. Robot's the leader. It's like, that could come up again and pose some interesting stuff.
It could do, but he's getting out,
He is.
and I wonder what he will be doing next week.
That's the question. This is gonna be the first time all season we see Elliot in the real world. Where does he go first?
Which is exciting. I don't know where he goes first, but you'd imagine that he will go to Darlene and F Society.
One would think so.
But Dom, I imagine, will be his nemesis.
Yeah, and I feel like Angela is going to be the weak link here that gets them in trouble.
Yeah, that could be true. Yeah, and then Elliot has to deal with the fact that he has to either save Angela or maybe
Sacrifice Angela
her.
for the vision of
Yeah.
FSA. Yeah.
Well, only time will tell. That's Mr. Robot, guys. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Thanks very much for watching, guys. We will see you next time.